The crisis of the century. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around because apparently the cycling world has collapsed. Pack your bags, turn off your power meters, and cancel the World Championships. Tadej Pogačar has lost the Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec. Yes, the horror. The man who crushes the Alps like he's on a Strava coffee ride and casually turns cobbled monuments into training sessions dared to finish somewhere south of Victory Pose in a Canadian city race. And naturally, this means his career is over. UAE is finished, and he should probably sign up for Zwift crits instead of World Tour racing. At least, that's what X, cycling pundits and their turbocharged hot takes are screaming. You guys know the type. They live for the 15 seconds when a rider crosses a finish line, and then they write 3,000-word thesis on why losing a punchy uphill sprint in Quebec is the equivalent to a rider forgetting how to pedal. According to them, Pogačar lost Quebec because he isn't explosive anymore. Or maybe it's because he peaked too early at the Giro. Or maybe Jonas Vingegaard has cast some sort of a Danish wizard spell across the Atlantic. Wow. Here's the part nobody wants to admit. Tadej didn't even try. Losing the Quebec GP for him was like misplacing a sock in the laundry. Inconvenient at worst, but mostly just background noise. If you looked closely, you'd notice his body language screaming, quote, "Guys, this is literally just training." He wasn't hunched over his bars gasping for oxygen. He wasn't sprinting like his life depended on it. And he wasn't even attacking with that psychotic grin that normally says, quote, "I've had 3 espressos and I'm about to ruin careers." No, he just rolled it in. Why? Because, shock horror, is part of the master plan for the World Championships. But of course, nuance is dead. Everyone has to react like losing one city circuit race means Pogačar has been exposed. Some analysts on TV were practically wiping tears from their eyes, speaking of him like he was a washed-up domestique searching for contract scraps. Quote, "He looked tired," one said. Quote, "He didn't have the punch." Another chimed in. Friends, have you ever tried racing hard when you spent the previous week doing back-to-back 30-hour training blocks, climbing mountains on Zwift, and then flying halfway across the world for a jet-lagged crit disguised as a World Tour race? Exactly. He wasn't tired because he's weak. He was tired because he's Tadej, and tired is the point. If you were expecting him to taper, sharpen up, and blow everyone away in Quebec, I regret to inform you that you have not been paying attention to his career philosophy. He uses these races the way most of us use a Tuesday night chain gang ride, not to win, but to suffer on purpose. Tadej showing up to Quebec was basically him saying, quote, "I need a mid-season, mid-week lung burner before I go and actually win something that matters." So, congratulations to the commentators and Twitter tacticians. You've cracked the case. Tadej Pogačar lost Quebec GP. Too bad the truth is more boring and more calculated, and way more insulting to your theories. He didn't lose, he just didn't care. The Quebec GP, aka interval training disguised as a race. Let's set the record straight about the Quebec GP itself. It's a nice race, no doubt, pretty city, gorgeous course, a finished circuit that basically screams, "We needed something photogenic for the helicopter shots." But in the grand scheme of cycling, it's a glorified fitness test. The climb is short, the laps are repetitive, and the tactics are predictable. It's the kind of race where if you squint hard enough, you could swear that you're watching a local crit, but with fancier bikes and French-Canadian accents. Now, don't misunderstand me. Winning Quebec still takes legs. Michael Matthews, Wout van Aert, or Benjot Cossenfroy will gladly, take you out for suggesting otherwise. But for Tadej Pogačar, a man who builds his entire calendar around 3-week stage races, cobbled monuments, and world champs, Quebec is just cardio. Imagine Lionel Messi showing up to a friendly five-a-side game in a parking lot and people writing think pieces about how he, quote, lost his touch because he didn't score 10 goals. Well, that's exactly what we're dealing with here. What was Pogačar actually doing in Quebec? For riders way slower than him to actually defeat him, well, it's simple. Intervals. Big, juicy, lactate-soaked intervals. Every surge up the Côte de la Montage was essentially a training rep. He'd push near threshold, back off, and then push again. He didn't care if someone else crossed the line first, absolutely not. He was there to feel the sting, to test the recovery, to simulate the World Championship finale without burning the actual matches that he'll need in 2 weeks' time. The race wasn't the exam, it was the homework. Here's the kicker, he didn't taper. That word, for the uninitiated, is cycling jargon for, quote, resting enough that you actually look fresh and sharp. Pros taper before the Tour de France. They taper before the Worlds. They taper before monuments. They don't taper before a Quebec City circuit race unless their season goal is to collect souvenir maple syrup podium bottles. Pogačar showed up with heavy legs from a monster training week. We're talking 6-hour rides, motor pacing, VO2 max blocks, and the kind of sessions where normal humans would collapse into a hospital bed. Then he flew to Canada. By the time he hit the start line, he was basically in the middle of one long training diary entry, not a competitive peak. So why bother racing at all? Because racing offers intensity that you can't replicate in training. You can hammer yourself on climb alone, sure, when you're in a peloton filled with 150 other maniacs all elbowing for positions. The adrenaline and pressure elevates everything. Quebec GP was Pogačar's playground for just that. He went in knowing full well that the win didn't matter. His coach would have said, Tadej, this is your threshold session. Don't even think about the podium. And Tadej, probably grinning like a caffeinated kid, would nod and say, okay, but I might still drop them for fun. That's his version of discipline. But people watching at home clutching their stat sheets think it was a loss. They'll say, oh, see, he didn't save or have the legs. Yes, genius, he didn't have the legs because he wasn't supposed to. It's like accusing someone of failing a driving test when they're actually just practicing parallel parking in their own driveway. Wrong context and wrong conclusion. The master plan. Why worlds matter, Quebec doesn't. Let's be brutally honest here, Tadej Pogačar doesn't measure his career in Quebec GPs. His trophy shelf already contains yellow jerseys, pink jerseys, and more monuments than most riders will touch in a lifetime. Do you think he's losing sleep because Cossenfroy or Matthews or some random Canadian sprinted faster in a 200-kilometer lap fest? Please. He's thinking about rainbow stripes. He's thinking about the World Championships. The Worlds are Pogačar's real target. That's the kind of race he builds training blocks around. That's the kind of race where he tapers, fine-tunes, and lines up at 100% ready to destroy. The Quebec GP just happens to sit nicely 2 weeks before Worlds on the calendar, which makes it the perfect rehearsal dinner. It's the scrimmage game before the Super Bowl. Nobody remembers who won the warm-up match. Everyone remembers who takes home the rainbow jersey. His methodology is brutally simple. Overload now, sharpen later. Right now, his legs are intentionally heavy. He's stacking volume, stacking fatigue, riding into the ground. He'll carry that load for another few days, maybe another week, and then pull back. Suddenly, all that accumulated stress turns into supercompensation. The freshness meets the fitness, and boom, peak form on the exact day it matters. This isn't sloppy, it's science. Thanks for watching today's video. Please leave a like for good luck, and subscribe if this is your first time here, if it's your first time watching this video, or channel as a whole. Here in this channel I upload the latest cycling news, the latest cycling drama, and the latest cycling results. So be sure to tune in every video to keep up to date with all of it. Feel free to comment down below your opinions also in the comment section below.